today we are going to be doing another doll video. And in this video, we are going to be doing a doll that I've wanted to do for a really long time, which is Lady Amalthea, which I'm going to put a little photo right here. Lady Amalthea, if you don't know who she is from the movie The Last Unicorn, which came out in, I think it's 1980. I was obsessed with this movie as a child. I watched it so many times. I know all of the songs by heart. My best friend Abby and I, we still to this day sing the songs to each other. And actually, I serenaded her at her wedding with The Last Unicorn. So all of that to say, I am obsessed with this movie. I love this movie. It's weird, it's gorgeous, and it had a really big influence on my art and art style as a child, and even now. It is a huge inspiration for me, and I've been wanting to make a Lady Amalthea doll for a while now. I just didn't know what base to do. And actually, Hection recommended a doll base to me a while back. He said that this doll base, he felt like kind of encapsulated my normal style. And I think he was right, because I really do like this doll base a lot. It is the Snow White doll base. I'm gonna post a video here of the Snow White doll base. I really like the face mold, and it is very like vintage. Like it has like a very vintage look to it. I was looking for a doll base for Lady Amalthea that is like soft and gentle and not too cartoony, but also not too realistic either. Something that I could give kind of like doe eyes with. And I'm hoping that that's what this base will let me do. So I'm pretty excited, and I also have another exciting thing to say is this is my first sponsor video. Woo! It's no secret that a lot of like the YouTube next steps is like getting a sponsor because it helps fund projects like this. So big shout out and a big thank you to Munbin. They make printers. And I will talk more about them later in this video, but I do want to specifically say that they reached out to me, and funny enough, I have had their printing product for maybe going on a year and a half, 2 years now. I have one of their thermal printers for printing stamps and stuff. I got it off of Amazon. They didn't know who I was when I bought it. I've been using it for about a year and a half or 2 years now, and I love it. So when they reached out to me and asked if I wanted to partner with them for this video, I was actually really excited because I actually have been using their product. So the product that I'm using in this one is a pattern printer, which is really cool, and I'll talk more about it later. I do want to give a big shout out and a thank you for sponsoring me for this video. So without further ado, we're gonna move on and get started on this doll. I'm really excited about it because I love Lady Amalthea and she's so pretty, and I still quote that movie all the time. I could feel this body dying all around me. And we are sisters, you and I. As well as a lot of other gems. So if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. It's really good. It's also really weird. So just a heads up. It is really pretty though. Okay, let's go into top-down mode.
But before we go fully into top-down mode, I want to talk about the sponsor for today's video, which is Munbin. They were kind enough to sponsor me and send me this portable thermal printer that is great for pattern printing. I thought this video would be a perfect use for this because I'm very new at sewing, and I definitely need patterns, and I definitely am going to be redoing patterns multiple times, and I didn't want to waste my money on buying a pattern and then messing up a lot and everything. So let me tell you, this came in so handy for me. First of all, it sets up so easily. Literally, I got it up and running in under 5 minutes. They give you a little USB drive to just plug in and install the driver. Once the driver was installed, all I had to do was find a PDF and hit print, made sure that it went to this printer, and voila, it printed. And it is super duper quiet, like insanely quiet. You hear how quiet that is? It also prints with thermal paper as opposed to regular paper, and I like the thermal paper because it is thinner and easier to tear off directly, and I can sew it onto the fabric and it's just easier to manipulate. It was super easy to print PDFs off, and the fact that it's on a roll means that I'm not restricted to like an 8.5 by 11 size paper, but I can print longer pieces if needed, which is really great. Even though this is for a doll, but still, it is very handy to have. I can cut these pieces out and pin them to the fabric, and then it's super easy, super convenient. Honestly, I was pretty impressed with this, not gonna lie. You can print with the USB cord that's included, and it prints with your Mac or your PC, or you can even print through Bluetooth through your phone, which is also really cool. So it has that capability of doing both. And if you are interested in purchasing this, I will have a link down below in the little box, the comment box down below. And I will also have a code that you can use that will give you a discount. So if you really want to get one, I suggest one, especially if you sew a lot. This is a really good one. Go check the box down below. Thank you, Munbin, for sponsoring me. And let's move on and get back to the rest of the video. So we're starting with essentially just the Snow White base. I obviously took off all of the clothes and I decided the first thing I was going to tackle is her hair. I needed to chop off all of it, and I decided instead of like using scissors to try to cut it all in little pieces, I thought I would be super smart and big brained and use my dog's paw pad trimmers to buzz off her hair, and actually it worked really well. So let's take Snow White from demure to punk rock because we're gonna buzz her whole head with my dog's paw pad trimmers, and yeah, she's gonna look cool as hell.
Now here's the thing. I have this blonde wig. I tried to find a smaller one, but I don't know. This was the one that I found that I want to put on her. Obviously, it is way too big for her head, but I'm wondering if I can kind of like make this shorter, make the wig cap shorter, because I want it to be kind of like this maybe. And I'm wondering if I can basically like cut into the wig cap like a line and then just like overlap it just to make it tighter. And I'm hoping that'll work. I probably should have ordered a second wig just in case. Maybe I should do that now because I think I got this off of Amazon. But yeah, I think I need to do that. And I also probably need to like go in and take out her hairline around here. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna try to take off her hairline because it's a little too low and it's black, so I feel like you'd see it very easily, and I don't want people to see it. So, but you still can kind of see the shadow. I mean, I'm gonna glue it down, but I don't know. I'm gonna try to cut into this and see. I guess if I flip it inside out, I could cut right here. So, you know what? We're just gonna go for it. We'll see what happens. Everything's just experimenting. Come on, baby. There we go. We can take this and like make it even smaller. Oh, I'd have to go even smaller. I might have to just cut like a chunk out of it because like it has to be like this maybe. I probably just have to cut off like this whole section here. And then we're just gonna like hot glue it onto her head. Time to go for a swim.
Once I had my wig in a way that I felt like would work, I dunked her head in boiling water so that I could pop it off and it wouldn't break the little neck attachment inside. And then I went in and removed all of the plugs from the front of her hair, like her hairline and everything, just so that I wouldn't see that black line. And then I could also go in with acetone and rub off the black paint as well. Now that we have a blank face, I sprayed it with Mr. Super Clear and I started sketching on how I wanted the eyes to look. Because she kind of has lids already, I couldn't draw exactly how Lady Amalthea's eyes look. I had to kind of modify it to the shape of these eyes, but I knew I wanted to not use black liner. Her eyelashes are purple. She doesn't really have any black on her. It's like purple and dark blue. So I wanted to stay away from black as much as possible and just stick with dark purples and blues and lavenders. So that's what I did with this whole entire eye makeup, was just kept it in that color palette. Because I wanted this to look super soft and ethereal, I went in with my pan pastels and worked mostly with those. I also wanted her eyebrows to be kind of like sad and delicate, so I sketched on just some kind of downturned brows. I did a lot of shading with my pan pastels and used a lot of pinks and purples. So I normally paint the lips on with like acrylic paint, but I wanted this to be super soft, so I decided instead I was just gonna blush the lips. And I actually really like how it turned out. I think it gives it that really nice, delicate, soft feeling. And yeah, I thought it was pretty cute. Then it was time for her little unicorn horn marking that she has on her forehead. So I wanted to add this like kind of pinky blush to make it look a little magical before I painted it on with acrylics. Right now it just looks like somebody punched her in the forehead. I sprayed her with another coat of Mr. Super Clear, let it dry, and then went in with acrylic paints to crisp up all my lines and add the darker and nicer details like the whites of her eyes and coloring in her irises, as well as highlights and all of that good stuff. Also, weird small note, I'm sorry my hand keeps getting in the way, but honestly, I'm a lefty. And it's just kind of hard to film as a lefty, I think, sometimes because of the way that I hold my paintbrush or my pen or my pencil because I kind of draw on top of whatever it is I'm doing. So I apologize. I'm always trying to figure out ways to circumvent this issue. I painted on the little starburst symbol that she has on her forehead that symbolizes the horn. I was gonna say spoilers, but honestly this movie's been out since the 80s, so if you haven't seen it, that's on you. Then I blushed her body because I knew she has kind of like a low cut dress, so I just wanted to add a little bit more color into her chest. Then I went in and did a high gloss varnish on the lips, and then I used a glossy gel top coat on the lids, cured it under a UV lamp, and that was it. I should mention that I did spray it with Mr. Super Clear before I added any of the gloss and varnish, just so that it sealed in everything. Finally, I moved to the hair. I glued it right on top and made sure that it was pretty close to the hairline so I didn't see any sort of black markings from her previous hair. And this just took some fiddling, making sure that it was tight along her hairline, or where I assumed her hairline would be, and then just making sure that the back fit nice and snug. All in all, I think it worked out pretty well. Once the wig was secured on the head, I just went in and started trimming in some little vague layers because her hair isn't really super duper styled. It's like kind of messy and curly. So I wanted to emulate that by just putting in some layers. I went in with my straightener, set it to the lowest temperature that it could be at, and just added like a little bit of curls towards the end of her hair. And with her head taken care of, now we move on to the part that I knew I was going to struggle with the most, which is making the dress. As you saw from earlier in my video, I used the Munbin printer to print out my pattern, put it on, trace it onto my fabric, and then cut it all out. It was super, super easy, so helpful. So I cut it out of this like shiny purple fabric, which was really pretty, but I didn't think about how much it was gonna fray. Luckily, I had this kind of like fray stopper stuff, so I made sure that every time I cut something out, I put it along the entire edge so that it wouldn't fray. Then I pulled out my big old Bessie Singer sewing machine that I've had for many, many years. This thing gets the job done. She's old, and she clogs and gets stuck and doesn't have a lot of fancy fangled things, but you know what? She does her job, and that's what's important. So I initially used one type of pattern and I hated it. I also had a dark purple thread that I was using that I felt ended up making it look really bad. And then I had to attach the skirt to the top, and I would have a seam, and I just wasn't happy with this whole thing. The top fit weird, the skirt fit weird, everything was just bad. So I decided to print out a new type of pattern, and that I was going to make a whole brand new dress. So I did the whole process all over again and cut it out, used the seam fray stuff, pinned it, sewed it, the whole shebang, pulled out my hair a little bit, sat here and hand sewed, and yeah. I finished the whole thing and I fitted onto the doll, and I was so much more happy with this. I think doing it again made it so much better. I mean, there's still a lot of mistakes and a lot of loose threads and weird connections. Things didn't line up properly, but I chalked that all up to me being a very, very new seamstress making doll clothes. It's kind of hard because they're so small. So I was pretty happy with this. As happy as I could be, at least. Then it came down to adding the embellishments, which is like the pocket and the trim and the little buttons. For the pockets, I just used some trim that I thought was kind of fancy. And for the lace on the top, I also used some trim that I had lying around the house that happened to match perfectly with the dress color. And I just attached that with this like tacky fabric glue and glued it on the inside and then pressed it down on the front. Easy peasy. The buttons, I used little tiny gems, and I attached it with this like gem tack stuff that's supposed to be for sticking jewels and gems on fabric. Lady Amalthea doesn't wear any shoes. She runs around barefoot, so I didn't have to worry about that. So once all of the little final details were done, the doll was finished. So let's go see the glamour shots. So let's talk about her. First of all, I'm really happy with her face up. I think she looks super pretty. I love all the purples and the blues, and it's just so soft and ethereal, and I think it's the best face up I've done to date. The dress leaves a little bit to be desired. I have some wonkiness, like the bust seams and everything. The seams in general are kind of rough, and the hem is kind of rough. I made some very, very rookie mistakes, but I'm trying to give myself some grace since this really is only like my maybe third or fourth time that I've sewn something together like this before. But for doing that, I think I'm pretty happy with how it turned out still. Like, it still gives the vague notion of what her dress kind of looks like. So I'm not mad about that. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this doll. I think she turned out super cute and I really, really love her. I also think that maybe I might want to revisit and redo her again in the future, maybe in like a year or two when I have even more experience under my belt modifying dolls. But yeah, let me know what you think of her. If you have any tips or tricks on sewing doll clothes, please let me know down below. Don't forget to check out my link to the Munbin printer down below. Thank you once again for Munbin for sponsoring this video. I really, really appreciate it, especially as my first sponsor ever. Let me know if you guys have seen this movie, and if you have, what's your favorite scene? Because I'm obsessed with this movie. Alright, that's about it. I'll see you all later. Goodbye.